They let our mothers walk into a foundling hospital. And the definition of the word foundling is a safe place to abandon a child. And all hospitals and churches were designated as foundling hospitals around 1912 in the United States. Our mother walks in to have a baby, and all she's thinking about is having that baby and getting home to her comfortable bed with her bouncing baby. And she's handed a stack of paperwork, and she says, and she's told that this is just merely to give your baby a name and get it registered. Put it into the system. And so she signs it as an informant. The definition of the word informant is someone who gives someone up to another. She gives that baby up to the state. She's not told that. She's been under a major medical procedure, under duress, probably under the influence of painkillers, excited to go home with her baby. No full and honest disclosure. The contract, therefore, should be null and void. But she signed as an informant, giving the baby up to the state, literally giving them title to the child. Title. The state registers that baby with the Department of Human Resources. Human resources, human capital, slavery. They register that baby and they bond it and insure it. If you were born prior to 1975, between 1933 and 1975, you were bonded for $630,000 and insured for $1 million at birth. If you were born after 1975, you were bonded for $1 million and insured for $2 million. Now, that bond amount is through a bank. My birth certificate says American State Bank on the bottom. But your birth certificate's on bond paper. It's got a CUSIP number, CUSIP number. That is an investment control number that is a United States Treasury number. And when you get a Social Security number, that's an additional CUSIP number. And when you get in the military, your military ID number is an additional CUSIP number. And if you get an advanced degree in college, that student ID is another CUSIP number. And you just keep getting bonded and insured and in your name in different ways. And you're bought and sold by companies buying United States Treasury bonds every single day. And those Treasury bonds pay an interest. That interest is earned and it just gets reinvested and reinvested. So when your birth certificate is registered, all they're doing is issuing $1 million worth of Treasury bonds. So they want everybody registered birth that they can get. Because every time they register a child, it's another $1 million of credit for the federal government. So that baby comes through the birth canal, is delivered by the doctor at the dock. The baby is a vessel. It's an entity, a vessel, a ship, if you will. In Admiralty, delivered at the dock by the doctor, and is given a bill of lading, and then it's taxed forever. And that's why a CPS agent or an officer can come in your home without any due process, without a proper warrant, and take your kid because they have title. They own it, and you haven't laid claim to it. The legal definition of the word minor is someone under the age of 18. We all know that. But it's also someone of any age who has not claimed their minor account. So that's another class down the road. But that's claiming the SESTA QB. And that is a totally different subject than what we're on today. So, and hours worth of teaching to teach you that. But when we can learn how to stand up, when we can learn how to say something when they come to our door, to remove the consent, to say we stand up against your presumptions and assumptions, your hearsay. I mean, When they came and took your kids, what did they say that you did? Your house was dirty, you didn't vaccinate, a million different things that they claim you did for a reason to take your kids from you, to kidnap your child. Where was the first-hand witness? Did that first-hand witness swear an oath under the penalty of perjury? Are they going to take the stand and testify against you that you did what they said? Let's talk about the warrant. If they show up with one at all, where did it come from? Was it an Article 1 or an Article 3 court? No, it was signed by some private bank administrator at some private courthouse, for-profit business, handed to a private officer, for-profit officer or agent. Did it state the place to be searched, the item to be seized? Was it backed up by a claim? No. These warrants are nothing more than a piece of paper that you could run through a shredder, and they don't matter one single little bit unless they come from an Article 1 or an Article 3 court, and they've got the proper claim behind them. There's got to be a claim or an affidavit or somebody who's sworn under the oath of penalty of perjury, backing up as a first-hand witness to whatever they're accusing you of, and they don't have it. So they're just conspiring against you, because usually they show up with more than one, and they're depriving you of your rights underneath the color of law, which all rules, codes, statutes, and ordinances, policies, executive orders are all colorable and are not law. And you can look all this up in multiple Supreme Court cases that tell us this. So it's no different than you allowing an employee from McDonald's or Walmart or Burger King to walk up to you and take your property. Now, then again, some of these employees of these private corporations have a 45 on their hip. They have the threat of force behind them. So you have to be nice. You have to smile. And you have to be politically correct. And you have to know enough law to stand up for yourself and say, hey, look, buddy, I'm sure you're a great guy, but you're depriving me, a man, of my rights under the color of law. You work for a private for-profit corporation who has no de jure authority as government at all. None. The only authority you would have is if I gave it to you, if I consented to your authority. If I walked up to a security guard at a shopping mall and I said, hey, buddy, I'm just tired of dealing with it and I'm tired of making decisions, and I gave a security guard my authority, I gave him the authority to tell me where to go, where to sit, what to eat, how to get there, then he has the same rights as a police officer. And he could tell me exactly what to do because I just gave it to him. And I could give any one of you my authority to rule over me. And you could tell me exactly what to do and hold me accountable. And if I didn't do it, you could arrest me and put me in prison. And that's what we're doing to these police officers and these agents of government. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Take a stand. Stand up for yourselves. Teach your children this. We're taught in school from the very beginning to obey, 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 obey. Be a good little sheeple. Be a good little slave. Hey, I can be good. I can love my neighbors. I can go and help them out. I can help all you out. And I can do it of my own free will. I don't need somebody to tell me I got to do that. And I don't need somebody to tell me that I'm operating in commerce, so therefore I need a driver's license, a proof of registration, and a proof of insurance when I drive down the road in a car. All I need is a passport. The Constitution says you need to be safe and secure in your papers, in your identification. We're supposed to have identification on us. We're supposed to show it to anyone who asks. But having the right identification to put yourself in the right jurisdiction is what matters. And if you look at a passport, I can get mine out because I don't carry a driver's license. And I look at a passport, it says the Secretary of State of the United States of America hereby requests to all whom it may concern to permit the citizen or national to pass without delay or hindrance, and in case of emergency to give all lawful aid and protection. What's that tell a police officer? His only job is to look at my picture, make sure it's not somebody else's passport, hand it back to me, and say, I won't detain you any longer. Be free to go on your way. Be safe in your travels. See, we need to be a little self-governing. And we need to stop giving our consent to employees of Walmart. They may dress up in these blue outfits, and they might have these 45s on their waist, but they are not there to protect and serve any longer. They're there as revenue agents to tax you as a person, tax your business, tax your entity, tax you as a resident, not be a man or a woman, a living soul. Genesis 2:7, and I, God, created man from the dust of the earth, and I breathed into his nostrils a gift of life, and man became a living soul. That's what we are. Our bodies are going to go back in the ground. They're going to return to dust. And our soul will live on forever. It's the things we learn in this lifetime that matter. That's why I've dedicated 3 to 4 hours every single day, sometimes more, to just study, to learn. That is basically the basics of this. Once you know that, and you know the language to determine what jurisdiction you're in, then you can stand up and you can say, hey, I know my rights. I know where they're written down. They're written down in all of these different documents. Here they are. And no one has a greater right to my child than I do. Nobody. You know, we've got a lot of kids back in a lot of different ways. This document has been doing wonders. But it has to be done in the right process. It has to be done by somebody knowledgeable. And you have to learn enough about the document in order to stand up and back it up if you have to in person verbally. But it's not that difficult, because it goes after the two things that they cannot stop: challenge of jurisdiction and an exposure of the fraud. And once you expose their fraud, they've lost. It's that simple. Expose it to everybody. Let's get it out into 500 courtrooms in the next month or two. When it's in front of 500 judges across this nation, this criminal mafia bar association is going to have to change and adapt. They might have to go back to common law the way it was meant to be, where if there is no victim, there's no crime. And let us raise our children as we, the parents, see fit in the best way possible. And focus our energy on helping those that are having problems. If a young mother is having drug problems, for instance, you don't come in and take her kids. You help her with her drug problem. You make sure the kids have what they need, but you help her with the drug problem. You make sure the kids are getting to school and getting to the doctor if they need it. But you help her with the drug problem. You don't take the kid. I'm sick of it.
And then I forward as sui juris. And Dave, I want, if you got a minute, I wanted you to explain that to people, because I think that's a really important part, because I know people have been taught to go hire attorneys. They know what they're doing, that then it leaves them not to have to worry about stuff. It kind of takes it off their shoulders. That's because we've been taught that. But the bottom line is if you're going to go out there and you want the truth, and you want to and you want to stand on the truth, you've got to stand up and fight for this yourself, because you're not going to get it through an attorney. A bar attorney.
We can do it for you.
That's right. So I wanted you to explain that, if you could, briefly, why you do not hire an attorney.
Well, the law says when you hire an attorney, that an attorney can only represent certain things. A corporation, an entity, a minor, somebody incompetent, or somebody infirmed. Okay, when the law excludes something, it is not in the law. That means that if you're a man or a woman, where does it say an attorney can represent a man or a woman? It didn't. It's excluded from it. Therefore, an attorney cannot represent a man or a woman. They can only represent your entity, which is dead. That's why they say all persons are equal in the law, because all people, in order to walk into a courtroom, have to be dead. When you walk in alive as a man or a woman, you are sui juris, which means of one's own rights. You actually have rights. Now, the problem is, if you tell a judge one time that you're sui juris, and you tell him that you're firing your attorney, he's going to keep trying to make you have an attorney, and he's going to say, oh, no, you're pro se. So you have to tell him again that you're not pro se, because what does pro se mean? It means professional self. It means you have to follow the same rules as any other attorney, because you're representing your person. They're still going after the person, see? Now you tell him again, no, I'm sui juris. And he says, okay, you're pro per. You're in proper persona. You're still a professional representing your person. That's the same damn thing. I don't care how they say it. It's still the same thing. You're representing. You never want to represent yourself. You never want to represent your person. You want to be the man or the woman. You want to have standing. You want to be alive. You want to be sui juris. So they have to ask you everything 3 times. Ask Jamie. They said, do you want an attorney? Jamie says, no, I don't want an attorney. They said, if you don't take one, our attorney, our public defender, which, by the way, we'll pay for, like they pay for anything themselves. No, they're going to pay for it out of her Sesta trust, see? But they make it sound real good. And they say, well, if you don't take that public defender, I really think you should. And Jamie says, no, I'm not going to take that defender. And then the judge looks across at the court clerk and he says, why don't you pick up your phone and you call them U.S. Marshals, because we're going to sentence her and have her arrested today if she doesn't take a public defender. He's threatening her again and asking her to take a public defender. And that court clerk has seen this before. She didn't even reach for her phone. Probably 5 or 6 minutes went by, and she's got the phone right on her desk, and she never even reached for it. She knows this is all a charade. And the judge says, I'm just going to arrest her if you don't take that public defender. And if you stand up and you say no again, now all of a sudden, okay, you're sui juris. See? But if you get scared and take that public defender, they have you under their hooks one more time. You jump back into their jurisdiction. which she did, by the way, but that's just why she had more sentencing hearings. She just drug her case on a little bit longer because she enjoyed it so much. But in reality, you know, eventually you become sui juris and you win.
I do want to say that I did do that, but I learned. And I didn't have these documents like Dave has. But I wanted to tell you, too, when Dave came to me and he said, you know, I needed to do a affidavit, a truth of affidavit, or affidavit of truth. And I said, well, what's that? So he left me in my motorhome for a week and told me I had 4 boxes to go through. And I had to go through them all, and I had to put them all in order as everything happened. So during that time, well, he came by a few times, and everything was across my motorhome floor and on my table. I had papers everywhere. I thought, this is never going to work. What am I doing? But I had to do it. And if he had not pushed, I would have not learned. And it's so important, and I'm so grateful for him. And learning what I did, it not only set me free, but it's helped so many others, because I learned. For every person that learns can teach 10 more people. And then those 10 people can teach 10 people. And it's just so, it's just got to keep going. But it is phenomenal, the things that I did that I didn't think I could do.
Exponential growth is what it's called. The idea is one person learns and gets it in their brain and teaches multiple people, and the growth becomes exponential. Okay? This is what we need. Go ahead, David.
And that's right. And see, even I learned from Jamie's case. I learned a number of things. Jamie's a good researcher. Her husband's a good researcher. We went on to websites that had nothing to do with the court, like fidelity.com. And we pulled off things relating to her custody members and compared them with the courts. And we saw what the courts were doing while they were doing it by going to Fidelity, which has nothing to do with them, where we could see it happening in there. And we could see it happening with the Department of Fiscal Services. And we could compare their sample sheets and their SF 273, 274, and 275 forms, the bid bond, the performance bond, the payment bond. And we see what they're doing. And those things we learned along the way. But not only that, we learned how important the rule of 3 is. We learned something else. One of the most important things I learned was I read in the ABA journal right after her sentencing a little statement that they made that shocked me to my core. And it is this. Their motto is, no fact or truth shall be tried in court. So that hit me like a rock, that none of this evidence, this crap they are holding against you even matters. It's all hearsay bullshit in the first place. Okay? There's no first-hand witnesses. They're trying everything based on hearsay, by presumption, by assumption. They don't have any real fact or evidence against you at all. See, here's the thing. No fact or truth shall be tried in court. So that's what this never perfect document involved into. We don't state anything in there about your kids being taken or what led up to your kids being taken or anything. We go right after their bullshit, the fraud itself, the fact that they don't have any jurisdiction, that they don't have any status or standing. We put you in a position of status, standing, and jurisdiction. And then we expose the fraud. And then the courts go, oh my gosh, we don't want anybody to know about this fraud. And this person just put it on the public record. So some little law student at Cornell or Harvard or Yale can look it up on the record and start using it against these courts all over the place. And we don't want that to happen. So what's the best way for that not to happen? Let's just dismiss the case. Let's get these kids sent home. Let's wipe it off the face of the earth so nobody can go into the public record and see the fraud being exposed.
You know what it is? It's the ninja. It's the little thing what you saw in the ninja movies. They're like, oh shucks, they found us out. They get the little thing and go, poosh, it just disappear. Let's get it out of here. Run! The redcoats are coming.
Right. So that's what's happening all across this country is all of a sudden some CPS worker is showing back up at your door with the kids and your case has been dismissed. Now, obviously, there's a process that just doesn't willy-nilly happen, and sometimes it's a long process. You got to understand, we don't have a crystal ball. We're dealing with individuals called judges and prosecutors and CPS agents. We don't know when we submit a document what that individual, how they're going to react. But I do know one thing, that if they react badly, if they don't immediately dismiss the case, they're opening themselves up to all kinds of liability by not immediately dismissing the case. See, once they get this document, they're going to try and do three things to get you back in their jurisdiction. And I know I said this already, but the three things are, they're going to try and get you to have an attorney, because that automatically makes you incompetent in the ward of the state. They're going to bring you back into their jurisdiction by trying to force you to have one. Second of all, you can't use this document if you do have an attorney, because you lost right then and there. The second thing they're going to do is they're going to try and get you to sign some form of a contract, a plea deal or something, a TPR. They're going to try and get you to contract with them. And third, they're going to try and, if neither of those first two work, they're going to try and declare you incompetent. They're going to say, oh, we're going to have a competency hearing. We're going to have to get you evaluated by one of our doctors, say, who we can pay $30,000 to and help put his kid through college, to file some kind of a false statement and say you got some problem like, bipolar or PTSD or some other kind of mental label. See, here's the thing. Ever since the ACA, the Obamacare Act, you can't say anything to your doctor. There's no patient-doctor confidentiality anymore. The minute he puts something into his notes, it goes into a computer system and it's codified. And in that hospital, like the Phoenix Children's Center Hospital, there's a CPS office downstairs, and they see it on the computer. And now they got some woman upstairs with a mental illness who's, saying, I just want to get a second opinion. And that doctor's saying, oh, this needs to happen right now. This is my professional opinion, and I'm God. And this is the only opinion you should be listening to. So he puts a code in the computer, and all of a sudden CPS is on the elevator. They're heading up to your room, and they're taking your kids under court order. They probably got some stupid judge sitting down there in their office too, who will sign this court order. And he works for a private corporation for them. And they're all conspiring in it together to remove your rights so they can take your kids, so they can go after the SESTA QV fund and the Title IV funds, which are just little pennies compared to what they're going to get out of your SESTA QV. See? So then you wonder, what did I do? I did everything right. Why did I lose my kids? I know I did everything right. I jumped through all their hoops. I took a drug test when they told me to. I took a mental eval when they told me to. I'm just following all their guidelines. Well, bullshit. All they're doing is buying time so they can TPR your kid. They've got to have that kid for 18 months. So they're just buying time. Then they can take your kid. You jump through all the hoops, when in reality, you should have grabbed your damn kid, punched him in the nose, kicked him in the nuts, and ran down the stairs. That's what I would have done.
Hey guys, what's up? In lieu of today's court situation, I'm going to sing Fly for you guys live. And it's live, so, you know, if I hit a bad note or two, give a girl a break, all right? Let's see if I can get this situated so it won't fall. Whoops, that's my diploma. Shoot, how do I flip this around? There it is, okay. All right, let's try this again. Don't mind my clothes. I'm in my sweats because I'm chilling. Don't you ever let, oh whoops. Don't you ever let them tell you that you're nothing. We might have came from the bottom, but we don't need to stay there. I know deep down you wanna be something, but the hand you were dealt was so unfair. You were once a fatherless boy, running around, making noise, just trying to be heard. But I know you were hurting, and maybe you don't realize your son has the same eyes, with the same stare. You can run and hide, or stand up and try. Hold your head, it's time to fight and fly. You can run and hide, stand up and try. Hold your head, it's time to fight and fly. Look inside yourself and start searching. Your little boy is growing up and you need to be there. You need to be there. I believe that deep within you are resilient. I'm saying all of this because I care. After everything that we've been through, losing mom and Aaron broke our hearts, but you still have a son looking up to you, and I'll never let you fall apart. Through the sadness, through the pain, God still loves you just the same. Dad is watching down on you. We're out of the man you became. You can run, please don't run. Stand up and try. It's time to fight. It's time to fight and fly. You can run. I want you to stand and try. You can run and hide, stand up and try. Hold your head up, it's time to fight and fly. I know, I hit a couple of bad notes. Cut me some slack. Have a great day, guys. See you later.